is once again time to dive deep into the world of budget backpacking gear. If you're new to this series, I have been testing budget backpacking gear throughout the summer, and I've already tested budget gear from REI and Decathlon, and in this video, I am backpacking with only budget gear from Amazon. Woo woo! Wow! Fantastic. I do not trust this. Oh, it is actually quite comfortable. It actually feels quite light.
Oh, beautiful. That answers the question about if it's well made or not.
I love this. Maybe I'll always backpack with budget gear. This is my show, gosh darn. On my last two budget backpacking videos, a couple of people commented saying that REI and Decathlon gear was still pretty expensive. And while they do make gear that is budget friendly, it's still on the expensive side of the budget spectrum. So for this Amazon video, I have really tried to find truly budget backpacking gear. I really tried to search reviews and find gear that people said had good longevity, worked really well, and ideally was from a company that didn't have questionable labor practices. Now, before I get to packing up my bag, let me walk you through everything that I have here that I got on Amazon. Cool! Let's start with my pack. This is the Nevo Rhino Advanced 60 pack. This pack cost me $41.99. This pack is actually an incredibly popular bag in the world of budget backpacking YouTube videos. It is a 60-liter frameless pack. According to the website, this pack weighs 3 pounds, but if I'm honest with you, I find that hard to believe. It feels way lighter than 3 pounds. And at 60 liters, it's a pretty large capacity. I actually wanted a pack that was gonna be a little bit larger than what I generally backpack with, which is a 50 or a 55 liter pack, because cheaper backpacking gear tends to be a lot heavier and a lot bulkier. So I wanted that extra space to pack stuff.
There's a lot of like straps and buckles.
Yeah, there's a lot of business going on with it. There's a lot of like doodads. We've got these doodads, a zipper pocket, obviously this big open compartment, sleeping bag compartment in the bottom, reservoir sleeve, water bottle pocket on one side, water bottle pocket on the other side, straps, a rain cover stowed right there, hip belt pocket with mesh, another hip belt pocket with mesh, and we have a zipper pocket on the front. I'm curious to see how comfortable it is. It's not at all adjustable, so like if the harness doesn't fit me, then the bag doesn't fit me, but I think it's gonna be okay. Moving on. So my sleeping bag is the Nature Hike MJ300 sleeping bag. This sleeping bag cost $35.99. I did also get this on sale, but it only saved me about 10 bucks. So still a $45.99 sleeping bag that is this small and this packable is pretty fantastic. The weight on this bag is about 2.5 pounds, which is actually quite light for a budget sleeping bag. If I look here at what they list as a comfort rating, they say that this is comfortable down to 39.2 degrees Fahrenheit. The transition temperature, which would basically be the like, you know, you'll survive, is down to 30 degrees Fahrenheit. And then the risk temperature goes down to 1.4 degrees Fahrenheit. Because I'm not totally confident in this sleeping bag to keep me warm enough, I also opted to get a small packable blanket. I added this on to the cost of my bag because buying this was actually cheaper than getting a more expensive, warmer sleeping bag. This is the Covacure packable blanket. This is kind of a just in case. This cost me $25 and I think it'll add enough warmth to keep me comfortable if the temperatures do drop. So that is my pack and my sleeping bags. Let's talk about my sleeping pads. So first up, I have the Climate Static V sleeping pad. I bought the Climate Static V for $40, but when I was looking online, it seems like the price ranges a lot, between like 40 to 60 bucks, but that it fairly often goes on sale. The Climate Static V weighs 18.6 ounces, which is like a pound and some change, or 530 grams for you gram people. Now here's the fun, weird thing about the Climate Static V. This sleeping pad has no R value. At least it has no R value that I have been able to, oh, there it is. The R value for this pad is 1.3, which is quite low. So because of that, I opted to bring the Climate Static V as well as a closed cell foam sleeping pad from Featherstone. So this is the Featherstone El Cordion, and this is a closed cell foam sleeping pad that has a R value of 2. Now, how this pad has a higher R value than this one, I do not know. But the nice thing about R values is that they stack. So I can add this 2.1 R value to this 1.3 R value and wind up with a sleeping pad that has an R value of 3.4, which should be decently warm for the kind of late summer season. This sleeping pad cost me $30, which is about half the cost of most other closed cell foam accordion style sleeping pads. And this thing weighs only 16 ounces, it's basically a pound. So I'm actually really excited about this sleeping pad. I've been really jazzed to use it on upcoming trips. And yeah, I'm hoping that it serves me very well. Next, let's talk about my tent. It's really heavy. This is the Nightcat one-person tent. I absolutely love the logo. It is a cat with a bow tie. This tent itself weighs 4.5 pounds. You can feel all of them. It feels very, very heavy. It's like a little tiny block, but man, it's like stuffed with cement or something. I opted for the one-person version because by looking at the floor size online, it seems like the one-person is actually a lot larger than standard one-person tents. And I feel like for one person, that should be great, and I wanted to save a little bit on weight as well as cost. Guess how much this tent costs? Actually guess, I will wait. This tent costs only $40. That is the cheapest and most compact tent that I have personally ever heard of. Now you are paying for it with the weight, but all in all, I'm actually really excited to test this out. Because if this tent winds up being good, then that is an absolute steal on a pretty decent one-person tent. All right, that's the Nightcat. These are the Nordivate quick lace hiking shoes. These shoes cost me $42 roughly. I actually took a chance to break these shoes in and wear them walking around a little bit, and so far they have been super comfortable. They look to be pretty well made. The lugs on them look pretty good for trail runner style shoes. They're light, they're breathable, and what I like about them most of all is honestly this quick lace system. So you actually just pull this to tighten and then you tuck the extra stuff into this little pocket. And I think it's really clever. And honestly, if you didn't like the quick lace system, you could just undo it and put regular laces in here and then just store like, I don't know, breath mints in the little pocket instead.
Don't do that.
My hope is that these are going to be really comfortable and be a really great hiking shoe. We'll see. But I'm very excited about these. So that gets us through the big stuff. Now let me kind of power through and show you some of the smaller things that I picked up. First we have 4 pairs of Merrell socks. These cost me $12 for all 4 pairs, which means it's only $3 a pair of socks. Great deal. We have my Toaks titanium pot. This is the Toaks 750 milliliter pot, and this pot costs about $25. In addition to my Toaks pot, I also have a Toaks long-handled titanium spork with a polished bowl, as they say. This spork cost me $10, which is a lot less expensive than some of the other long-handled sporks out there, and I do really like the polished bowl. I also have a Coglins? How do you pronounce that?
I don't know, just figure it out.
Coglins! I also have a $3 trowel made of plastic. $3 trowel. We also have this Amazon Basics fleece Polar Tech jacket. This cost me $30 roughly, and it is quite basic.
You're basic.
And quite chunky, but it should do the trick as a good mid-layer. These are the Columbia Sandy River shorts, and these cost me only $22. This is a 260 lumen headlamp that cost me $15. Pretty inexpensive little headlamp, and also you can buy it in like a 6-pack.
Oh my.
So, I don't know, if you wanted to do that, you could. We also have this little set of dry bags, and we have my bear bag. In case you didn't know it was a bear bag, they wrote it on the front and they drew a picture. So this is not a bear-proof bag. This is actually designed to be hung in a tree, like a classic bear hang. This entire kit of stuff cost $22, which is a lot less expensive than buying a bear canister, let alone buying a bear-proof bag like the Ursack. But it is rather chunky and heavy, and it does require trees and a little bit of skill to hang it. There are a few additional budget items that I already owned that I will be bringing with me. And those are, Jesus! I can take an eye out. The BRS 3000 stove. This is a $20 backpacking stove that is itty bitty, super teeny tiny, and you can buy this on Amazon as well as on Garage Grown Gear. My Sawyer Squeeze water filter. The entire Sawyer Squeeze system costs around $40. $40 filter is 1000% worth it. Next up, we have my Frog Togs rain jacket. This rain jacket costs, I think, like 20 bucks. And Frog Togs does make more expensive, better rain jackets that are still pretty budget friendly. But since I already had this one, I was trying to stay within a restrictive budget. This is what we got. And last we have the Decathlon 4-Class jacket. Now the Decathlon 4-Class is actually a jacket that I discovered in my Decathlon budget backpacking video. And when I looked on Amazon to try and find something comparable to this, there just wasn't anything even close. So I opted to bring my $100 Decathlon 4-Class jacket. If you were to purchase everything that you see around me here, it would cost you $580, which is a really fantastic budget for backpacking gear. So with that, let's go ahead and pack all of this stuff up for our backpacking trip tomorrow. Cue montage. We are here at the Smith Brook Trailhead and we are hiking into Lake Valhalla. I weighed my pack at the car and it weighs exactly 30 pounds, which means this is the lightest pack I've had yet on our budget series. I'm very glad this pack is really light because so far I already have a couple of issues with it. The pack itself is definitely too big for me. And I did look on the website and they say this pack is good for people that are between 5'2" and 6'1". I am 5'5", so I kind of fit within that range, but there are a couple of problems with it. One, I have the shoulder straps all the way tightened, and it still sits a little low. I have the hip belt almost all the way tightened, and then the worst part of all is that this sternum strap is at the highest point it goes, and it is like, this needs to be up here on me, and unfortunately this pack was definitely designed for people who do not have boobs. Beyond that, it's really comfortable. It just doesn't fit me very well. So that's how I'm feeling about the pack so far, but we will see how this does on the rest of our hike. We have about 3.5 miles until we get to camp, so let's go. Woo! Oh, look at this dog. We've gone like 5 feet. For anyone who's curious, Tucker is 15, so he only does short hikes with us now. Let's go! Come on, bud! We're gonna hike in. When we get to camp, I promise that I will open everything up and talk about this gear, my initial first impressions of it, and also we'll see how it holds up for a night of backpacking. Quick comment about my shoes. They are actually incredibly comfortable so far. If you're curious what these things are, these are compression sleeves. Not budget, but just there to help my circulation. Woo! Oh, look! They're now entering the Henry M. Jackson Wilderness Area. Oh no. Oh dear. Watchow! Wow, that was really hard. So that is a official docking of a point for this backpack. But I will say that if you are using a reservoir, I'm pretty sure this pack is a reservoir sleeve, so you could just do that, but I am not. Now I did opt to use smart water bottles this time. The pockets on this pack are actually really like small and not that stretchy. The opening's kind of hard to get to. And I was not confident that my Nalgene would fit in that side pocket. And I've come to really like the shape of smart water bottles, despite the fact that I hate the smart water bottle itself. But there's a possible solution to the disposable smart water bottle coming soon. So I'm using this partly because it fits better and partly as research. And I will say no more.
There's no way you're going to be able to do this. Give me the water bottle.
Did you? It's really in there?
Yeah? That's what she said.
Jesus.
Come on, high five! No,
All right, okay, all right, I'll high five that. To camp. Oh, root ball. Look at those roots. Chonkers. So cool. Wow, this is so nice. Perfect weather, perfect trail. We need a little break. I'm gonna let the dog rest for a second.
Miranda,
Yeah.
can we just talk about that you have on the side of your pack carrots?
3 of them. There is going to be at least 1 billion people in the comments that are like, yeah, in the carrot pocket. Carrots are an excellent hiking snack. They hold their shape very well. They don't go bad very quickly, and they're really sweet. Like candy. I'm sure my audio is picking up some really good crunchy carrot sound effects. I'm going.
This is like ASMR from my worst nightmares.
Less.
You too.
To Lake Valhalla. Witness. So far, our hike has been just gradually ascending through a forest. It is a beautiful and very well-maintained trail. Pack so far is still giving me some problems. It's not uncomfortable by any means, but it definitely just doesn't fit my body right. Like, I can definitely tell that if this pack was the perfect fit for my body, it would feel good, you know what I mean? I also don't love the pockets and just kind of like the general features of it right now, but again, the big thing is just the fact that it's not the right size for me, and it is for sure not a one-size-fits-all pack. Beyond the pack, the shoes that I'm wearing, which are the Nordivate Budget Trail Runners, are actually fantastic. My feet feel amazing. I in a lot of ways, can barely tell the difference between these and my normal trail runners. So that doesn't say anything about the durability of these shoes, but as far as comfort goes, they are awesome. Yeah, we might have a view. Oh, look at this cloud. You see this? Just grazing the trees. This is the first time on this hike that we have broken out of the tree coverage and actually had a view of these surrounding peaks. You can see here there's this talus field with all that big chunky rocky stuff. Oh my gosh, we can see the lake. We just have this glimpse of Lake Valhalla below us. And now we just have to descend down to it. All right, let's boogie. Oh, nice. Oh my gosh. Oh. Welcome to Lake Valhalla. All right, I'm gonna pop my bag off and I'm gonna set my tent up. I have a 1-person tent, but it is kind of a large 1-person tent, as you'll see soon. So I think I'm gonna try and fit it right in this little space. The tent that I'm setting up is this Nightcat 1-person tent. Now, if you look at the footprint of it, this is bigger than some 2-person ultralight backpacking tents, but they call it a 1-person tent. It's a super simple 2-pole tent system. You just have 2 poles that cross. I'm gonna go ahead and stake down the body first to make that easier. Wow, it's very big. The body of the tent doesn't weigh a ton. The real heft comes from
these poles. So heavy! It is hard to convey exactly how heavy these are, but they feel heavier than like a full liter of water. These poles just go through these sleeves on the tent and then they pop up, and that's how we set up the tent. This is my tactic for it. When I'm ever putting a pole through a sleeve like this, I will like unfold the first two parts of the section and then put that through the sleeve and then keep unfolding it as I go, so I don't have like a huge pole sticking out behind me as I'm trying to shove it through the sleeve. Oops. Ta-da! All right, now I just need to tie this little bow here. We have a tent. Here's the hilarious thing about this tent. This is the rain fly. This thing goes over top of this tiny little mesh window at the very top here. And that is how you stay dry. I do not trust this. It's cute. Hilarious, they call this a one-person tent. It's like massive. This tent is what I would consider to be like a festival tent. It is very roomy, very spacious, really tall. It's got this one kind of aesthetically pleasing door, you know, with the like middle opening here, busting out when you're at like Burning Man or something and you're like, oh my God, I put on my outfit for the day. But anyway, it's clearly based on the rain fly, not designed for really inclement weather, but it is about the same weight as some more expensive backpacking tents that are like sometimes 3 or 4 times the cost of this $45 tent. It's really, really tall. I love that. There's a little like lantern clip at the very top, which I think is so cute. It is seam taped, if you're curious, starting just past the mesh windows, which is actually quite cool. So the tent itself is a waterproof material, single wall tent. Now this does mean that if you were backpacking in a really humid or really, really hot environment, you would probably still get condensation on the inside of this the same way you do with any like single wall tent, but it does make for a very inexpensive and a very easy to set up tent. And the fact that they have seam taped it is actually really nice. There's not that much else to talk about with this tent, so let's go ahead and grab my sleep system and get that set up in here. Cool. Oh my God, I'm gonna pass out. Okay, we're gonna test it. We're gonna just do a test lie down. Can you hear in my voice me trying to convince myself it's great? Like, yeah, it'll be fine. Oh, it is actually quite comfortable. Oh wow, I was not expecting that. Wow, I'm impressed. You can't feel this weird baffly shape. It actually feels really kind of cozy. So initial thoughts on the sleeping pad, really annoying to blow it up, but that's why you get an air pump or a pump sack. But the comfort is awesome. Now I'm very curious to see how I will feel tomorrow morning after spending a night sleeping on it. But initial first impressions, highly impressed. I am going to go ahead and also pop my sleeping bag into this tent. Rainer, you be my bag man. Just bring the whole bag over. Scooch, perfect right there. Thank you. Oh, Buggy, you gotta get off there, bud. I have my extra blanket, which is my just in case it's too cold tonight. And then I also have my sleeping bag. This is my nature hike sleeping bag. Oh my gosh, it's really soft. So this is a synthetic insulation. I think it actually uses a cotton hollow fiber fill insulation, but it doesn't feel crazy heavy at all. It actually feels quite light. So it has an adjuster for the neck and for the head, for this hood here, but it's just one toggle. So basically, like if you tighten this, the whole thing tightens. You can't tighten these two things separately very easily. On the side here, we have just your super basic piece of Velcro, zipper that goes all the way down to the foot box, and it is a dual zipper, so you can unzip it from both sides, which probably means that you can zip two of these sleeping bags together. This is a super basic, super simple sleeping bag. And in some ways that actually makes me kind of excited, because if I see a budget sleeping bag that doesn't have a ton of bells and whistles, my hope then is that it has been well made, because they've eliminated some of the extra features and things that would cause it to be more expensive, and instead put that money into making a bag that will hopefully keep me warm enough and hopefully not fall apart. Yeah, this is gonna be great. Wow, the best. Cozy little tent. Feels like Girl Scout camp. Little blankie tucked around you, your extra blankie, so you can be snug as a bug in a rug. Wow, I love this. Maybe I'll always backpack with budget gear. Yeah. Oh. Oh, wow! It's like sand, like actual sand. This is really special. Now, normally, I would expect this lake to be kind of overrun with people, particularly PCT thru hikers. This is a super popular campsite. The fact that we are here alone is quite surprising. There are definitely fewer thru hikers here right now because of fire closures in the area. So that's all really sad, but for us, it's very cool to have this beach and this campsite and this lake all to ourselves. I love the feel of sand on my feet. There's something so serene about an alpine lake. There's just a very unique beauty about something like this. This is so beautiful. For dinner tonight, I'm actually making ramen. If you are looking at my ramen and thinking that doesn't look like Maruchan or Top Ramen, you are correct. This is like fancy ramen. Still cheap, but not like 49 cents cheap, like $2.50 cheap. Ramen. Yum. Instant ramen. Pretty good. I'm gonna eat my ramen and start getting myself ready for bed. There's still one really big thing that's kind of hanging in the back of my mind, and that is that I still need to store all of my food, and in order to do that, I have to do a bear hang. I don't wanna write my own ticket, but I do suck at it. So far, budget food, budget pot, budget stove, budget spork are all perfect. I'm looking for a branch where I can easily hang this bag 6 feet from the trunk of the tree and 6 feet down from the branch. Feels like this is gonna be hard. Okay, it's not perfect, but I think I see a branch that will work. I think that I can get my bear bag to hang at least some distance away from this branch. Let's give it a try. I have my bear bag here. I have my cord, this rock, doop. So rock goes in here. Cord gets tied to this bag gets chucked over the branch, and then on the other end I tie my bear bag, hoist it up, tie the cord off to a tree. Fun, right? Can you tell how much I hate hanging bear bags? All right, here we go. Okay, all right, time to throw a rock. Goal is to do it in the first try. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Oh, I did that on my first try. Wow, I'm amazing. Now we tie the bear bag, attach the end of the rope, rock on the ground. Now comes the fun part. We have to see if I can hoist this bear bag up to that tree branch. Here we go. Up and at 'em. It's pretty good. All right, let's tie this off. I'm so proud of myself. We're gonna use this tree. Okay. Great. That's called a friction hitch. It's literally just wrapping it around the tree a bunch of times. Wow. I was so nervous about this all day, and it was like a breeze. So now, with my newfound confidence in my ability to hang bear bags, I'm gonna go to sleep happy. And we're off. Success!
Right now, I'm actually really cozy. This tent is super spacious and super comfortable. I'm very cozy in my extra blanket that I brought wrapped around my neck. And I also have my sleeping bag, obviously, and my 2 sleeping pads. I put that Featherstone Elcordian sleeping pad underneath my Climate. I am illuminating my tent with my Energizer budget headlamp. If you noticed when I was unpacking all my stuff into my tent, I did not bring a pillow with me. So I actually am doing the most budget version of a pillow, just sleeping on my Amazon Basics jacket, my fleece jacket that I wrapped up into a little loaf and stuffed with my insulated jacket. It's actually quite comfy. It is about 8:30 right now, so it's still very early in the evening, but I am fully ready to cozy up in this sleeping bag, maybe read my book for a little bit, and then get to sleep. I will talk to all of you in the morning, and I'll give you a bit more of my impression on not only the backpack that I used, the budget tent, and the gear that I slept in, but also some of the other budget backpacking gear that I'm taking on this trip. I'm gonna head to sleep, and I'll see you all in the morning. Good night.
Good morning! I slept okay, but my sleeping pad almost completely deflated in the night. So I had to blow it up again at 5 a.m. One other thing that happened last night, I went to tighten the hood on my sleeping bag and I heard this loud rip. This side ripped out. So there's just a big hole right here where you can see the insulation. First use already has a hole in it. So I guess that answers the question about if it's well made or not. Boo! This extra blanket that I brought, absolutely clutch. Truly a necessity, and it was amazing and so cozy. So that is a definite yes. Let's go ahead and get our day started. Hi, Tucker. Oh, you want me to get up now? You're like, come on, Miranda.
Oh, beautiful.
Before I get my coffee and my breakfast going this morning, I have to go and get my bear bag. I'm really hoping that it's still there, and part of me is a little nervous, actually. There it is. An orange blob in the distance. Hello, bear bag. Sweet.
Hey, tap. Tap, tap, tap. We got attacked by a bunch of birds. Get away. My hatred for smart water bottles continues. I am going to make my breakfast now, but before I get to breakfast, I actually want to talk about the coffee that I brought with me because it's a little bit unique, but it's also something you've heard me talk about quite a few times on trips recently. So the coffee that I brought with me today is in this little tiny Nalgene container, and this is actually a mushroom coffee. This coffee is from a company called Everyday Dose, and Everyday Dose is actually the sponsor of this video. Now, I've been using Everyday Dose for probably about a month and a half, maybe even 2 months now, and a lot of you have had questions about it. So Here is the deal. Everyday Dose is a coffee and mushroom blend. So it uses coffee as well as a number of different mushrooms to essentially create a caffeinated beverage that helps you keep your energy up throughout the day without having the same crash that you might get with coffee. On top of that, this stuff is really, really delicious. It kind of tastes like chocolatey. It doesn't taste mushroomy. It does have a bit of like an earthy flavor to it, but I just really love this. So I'm super thrilled that they're sponsoring this video. Now, if you get Everyday Dose, you will get a 30-day supply, and you'll also get this electric frother and like a fancy scoop. For me, I am just putting mine in this little container because I didn't want to leave it at home. No frother, but I find that it works really well to just kind of stir it into my boiling water. Everyday Dose has given me an awesome discount to share with all of you. So if you want to try out this mushroom coffee, make sure you use the link below. You'll get a sick discount, and I hope you love it as much as I do. Just looks like a latte. My favorite part of every day. I want to drink, but it is so hot. Too hot. Yum, 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 yum. So first I want to talk a bit about this sleeping bag that I was so excited about last night. It was not nearly as warm as I was hoping. And I'm not super surprised by that. The temperatures did get down into the 40s last night, and the sleeping bag does say that its like comfort rating is the 40s. I will say that it was soft and it was cozy, but the biggest problem that I had with it was that trying to zip this zipper up, it was catching like every little second as I was trying to zip it up. And then there was another big problem, and that was that when I went to cinch this hood around my head, I ripped it. First time, I just went like this. I was like, to cinch it, and it just ripped this off totally. I guess that sort of nixes my idea that maybe because it didn't have a bunch of bells and whistles, it was well made. Definitely not well made. Definitely is gonna fall apart very quickly. So having a really massive hood like this in a bag, in my mind, it just doesn't make it good for backpacking. You really want something that you can cinch around your neck, almost like regardless of the temperature, something that sits right around your face like this, because most of the cold air that's going to come into your bag is going to come in through the collar. And so having something huge like this that can't even cinch around your face because it just rips, I just found to be not very helpful. And I feel like of the 3 budget bags that I have tried, the 2 that have been like this have been the ones I didn't like. And the one, the REI one, that was more mummy shaped was one that I actually thought was pretty good. Now let's talk about my sleeping pad. So my sleeping pad was another piece of gear I was super excited about and wound up being pretty let down by. I'm not exactly sure why, but last night I woke up basically on the ground. This sleeping pad had almost completely deflated, but it didn't feel like it had leaked. It didn't feel like there was a hole in it. This only really was a problem when I was lying on my side because my hip was just hitting the ground. But thankfully, I had that Featherstone Elcordian sleeping pad. If I hadn't had that thing, I don't think I would have slept well at night at all. And I had put that underneath this sleeping pad at night, and that was like a total savior in terms of keeping me warm and keeping me off the ground when this thing deflated. In addition to that, there are a few very annoying things about this sleeping pad. This air valve on this pad, if you open this up, it'll immediately start to let air out. And what that means is that if I'm like blowing into this while I'm trying to inflate the pad, if I get it totally full, I then can't inhale without air coming out of it. So inflating it is really annoying. You have to like keep blowing into it as you close the valve. It is virtually impossible to get this sleeping pad totally full of air. And that's so annoying. As far as the tent goes, I'm actually really liking it, but I'm not so sure that it's going to be the best budget backpacking tent. But I'm gonna take the hike out of here to just kind of think about that a little bit more. When I get home, I will share some final thoughts on this gear, as well as what I think about the backpack, the shoes, and all the other budget gear that I used. Packing time. Cue montage. I picked my nose and I liked it. still no. All right, let's get out of here. Goodbye, lake. Yay, good job, Chuck.
So I am back from my backpacking trip, and now it's time to talk about what I liked and what I didn't like about this Amazon budget backpacking gear. Now let's start with the pieces of gear that I really didn't like. Unfortunately, this pack from Nevo Rhino is not one size fits all. On the Amazon page, the Nevo Rhino Advanced 60 claims to be the right fit for people who are between 5'2" and 6'1". I am 5'5", and this pack was just way too big for me. So as far as packs go, this is definitely not one that I would personally recommend because it just did not fit my body right. That being said, I had Rainer put this pack on to see how it fit someone of his body type and size, and it turned out to be pretty perfect. If the pack had fit me correctly, I actually would have really loved it because all of these pockets and compartments and straps were really fantastic. They were super easy to use, very helpful for organizing my gear, and it feels good quality. So if you do think that this pack will fit your torso size and your body size, then I would definitely recommend it. But I cannot recommend it as an overall good budget pack when it just doesn't work for people of my body type and size. Now there's two more big pieces of gear that I really didn't care for, and those are my Climate sleeping pad and my Nature Hike sleeping bag. Let's start with the Climate sleeping pad. When I first laid down on this sleeping pad, I was actually really excited because it felt super comfortable and cozy. But because it deflated in the middle of the night, I would not recommend it. Now let's talk about the sleeping bag. This sleeping bag is very poorly made. It did not keep me warm enough on its own. However, the extra blanket that I brought wound up being super, super helpful. So with that, let's move on to the stuff that I really liked. Oh wait, there's one other thing that I really didn't like, and that was my trowel. I did not show this trowel in use at all because there was a pit toilet where I went backpacking, but I did attempt to dig a hole with this dirt, and I kid you not, it was impossible. Do not spend the $2 on this. You're better off buying 8 gumballs with your $2. This thing sucks. Now we can talk about the stuff that I really loved. Because I already mentioned it, let's start with this blanket. So this super inexpensive camp blanket wound up being one of my favorite things that I had on this trip. This added so much extra warmth and comfort in my sleeping bag, and I also wound up using it in the morning and in the evening, just kind of like bundle myself up while I was making dinner. So if you were looking for a good budget, cozy, lightweight camp blanket, I highly recommend this one from Covidcare. Let's talk about my sleeping pad. My other sleeping pad. I absolutely loved this thing on my trip. In my opinion, this sleeping pad actually worked just as well as other closed cell foam accordion style sleeping pads that I've used before, and it is a fraction of the cost of those pads, and I think that it's just an awesome buy. Next up, let's talk about my tent. This tent is super cozy and it is massive for being a one-person tent. I could sit up completely in this tent. I found that I had plenty of space to organize my gear, and it really felt more like a 2-person tent than a 1-person tent. I also really loved the dual door opening on the front of the tent. It just was like really nice to be able to zip that zipper up the center and then open those doors up wide. I feel like that double door feature with those mesh doors made up for the fact that there's basically no mesh on this tent whatsoever, except for a really tiny mesh window at the very top. So by having those double doors and not like tons of mesh, I got a lot of airflow in this tent and I found it to be really comfortable. One of the biggest downsides of this tent is definitely how incredibly heavy these tent poles are and also how poorly made they are. This tent is only $40. So I think if the biggest thing that's been holding you back from going backpacking or camping is being able to afford a tent, then I would say that spending the $40 to get a tent to get you out there and see what you think of backpacking is probably worth it. But is this tent the best budget backpacking tent in the world? I don't think so. I think I can still probably find something better. Now let's talk about my cook system and my food stuff. No notes on the toques, pot, and spork. These two things are amazing. I love this spork. This honestly like might become one of my go-to sporks. It's got great mouthfeel, really like soft, smooth bowl on it. This pot is fantastic. These two things, absolutely worth the cost. The BRS stove, well, you all have heard me talk about this BRS stove before if you watched my video comparing backpacking stoves. I don't love this thing. It does take a while to boil water. I find it to be a little bit unstable, and overall it burns through a considerable amount of fuel in comparison to other more expensive stoves. So I do feel like it's better to buy a more expensive backpacking stove and save the money on fuel than it is to use this little thing. Let's talk about this bear bag. I think this was a good purchase. This bear bag made it so easy to do a bear hang, and I felt very like confident in my abilities when I hung this bear bag. That being said, I am still always going to recommend bear-proof containers, whether that's an Ursack or another bear-proof bag, or in my personal favorite, a bear canister like the Bear Vault. But if you're not quite ready to commit to purchasing those because they are more expensive, then this is a fantastic, easy, first-time use bear bag. I did have a weird thought though, where I was like, well, wait, do I want to like announce to bears that it's a bear bag? But then I remembered that bears don't read, so.
You remembered?
Really quickly, let's talk about my clothing. Now, my mid layer was this Amazon Essentials fleece. And while I don't think this is particularly stylish, and it's definitely not very lightweight, it was warm. And if you're looking for like a good budget mid layer that you can use for backpacking, hiking, or just like generally staying cozy in the outdoors, then I think this is totally suitable. Okie dokie. Socks and shoes. First up, really quick about the socks. These Merrell socks were great, but I don't think they are great for hiking. What I mean by that is that they're super comfortable, they're very cozy, I enjoyed sleeping in them, but they have a little bit of a texture to them that I found to be kind of uncomfortable on the bottoms of my feet after hiking with them all day. Your hiking socks make a bigger difference than you realize, and I think it is worth investing in a good pair of hiking socks. Now for the shoes. Y'all, these Nordivate shoes impressed me so much. I cannot even begin to tell you how shocked I am that these were incredibly comfortable, super grippy, like so easy to wear, breathable. I mean, just like all around, absolutely fantastic shoes. Now, something to keep in mind with these shoes. I have worn them on one backpacking trip. I have worn them on maybe 3 or 4 day hikes, so I haven't really put them to the test in terms of durability. I'll be using these Nordivate shoes throughout the rest of this budget series because I don't think there's any way I'll be finding a cheaper shoe that performs as well as these do. One more tiny thing, my Energizer headlamp. Absolutely worth it. If you do not want to spend money on an expensive headlamp, this thing is great. It does exactly what you need it to for backpacking. It costs very little. All around, solid, good headlamp. And that is the end of my gear. Now with this Amazon budget video, I feel like I've finally gotten a good picture of what I am searching for in budget gear, which just brings me a little bit closer to that ultimate budget gear haul that I am reaching for at the end of the summer. Now I have a little bit more budget gear testing to do before I come up with that final ultimate budget backpacking kit, but I think that after this, we're getting a heck of a lot closer. So if you want to see the rest of my budget backpacking series, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell. And as always, I will see you outside. Bye.